what are you creating in your life, whether you're subconsciously or consciously thinking about it? And, it all ties back to, what does your life look like? What are you accepting and not willing to accept? And one of the tools that I think everybody should practice and implement and use, and I know, again, it sounds very woo-woo and like, what is this witchcraft, is this ancient art of Feng Shui. And I've been using it for over a year now, and I've known about it for a very long time, but I started practicing it last year, and it's so freaking cool. I'm like manifesting like just money out of the blue, and just like weird thing. Like, it's, so to me, this modality is an extension of manifesting. So if you've ever The Secret, or if you're familiar with the term, or you're like, oh yeah, I manifest all the time, it's just an addition. It's an additional tool in your toolbox, but it actually helps you, I think, get way more intentional and attracting things faster.
Hello, and welcome back to Journey of a Fearless Female. I am your host, Paola Rosser, and I am so glad to have this podcast guest on my show. Her name is Shauna. She is the founder and CEO of Sparkle Vibrations and the host of Align Your Glow and Soul podcast. I was actually a guest on her podcast, so I'm so honored to be able to have her on mine. Shauna is a spiritual energetics career coach and a doula, empowering women to radiate their full potential in their careers and lives so they can sparkle their way into abundance. Shauna teaches women to align with their purpose, own their worth, and get intentional with their energy so they can create a life they love. She is a certified hypnotherapist, Reiki and EFT practitioner, life and success coach, and uses NLP. Shauna is on a mission to teach women the importance of loving what they do. When we love what we do, we create a ripple effect, attracting in beautiful synchronicities of massive abundance. Everybody, please welcome Shauna. Hello.
Oh, hello. It's so amazing to chat with you. I was just looking when I had you on my podcast, and it's been a hot minute, almost like 6 months. Well, 5, but I'm like, oh, we should do like a biannual podcast swap, because
I know we should, because
yeah.
there's so much that's going to be talking. We talked for 15 minutes before we even turned on the camera. Like, her and I just resonate so well with each other. And I love her energy. I love that we both can talk about spirituality and the things that we believe in. And we're so like on the same vibrational frequency, which is, I'm so thankful to have you on the podcast. Let's talk about your journey. I know you know mine because I've been on your podcast, but let's talk about your journey. How did you become the fearless female that you are today? So let's go back from the way beginning. From the
I
beginning.
love that.
Wayne's World. Wayne's World. From the beginning. Let's go
We
back.
need we're on video, but we need the like fading out.
Yeah.
So back. I don't know, middle school. My stepmom had the book, The Secret, which I think many people who are in the spiritual realm can resonate with in some capacity. I read it and I just thought it was super cool. I was very young. It didn't really make sense to me. I didn't think much of it, but I was like, oh, this is freaking awesome. I want to manifest, or whatever that means. And then let it go. Didn't really think about it for decades later. And then was it like 2020, 2019? I don't know. I stumbled upon a podcast called Spiritual Boss Babe by Stephanie Bellinger. She goes by Stephanie Sage now. And I just loved her messaging, loved her voice, loved everything she spoke about. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I've never really been religious. I didn't grow up in a religious family, but hung around friends. I went to church and really just, came with them because I was like, oh, you're doing this? I want to hang out with you. And then really, when I went through college, I resonated more with like Buddhism, just because it's not a religion, it's more of a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started getting into spirituality, I thought, oh, okay, this is really cool. I love just the concept of being able to control your energy in your life and what you create, and believing in the universe or God or whatever you want to call it. There's no wrong or right name for it. And I was like, okay, this is like a really interesting concept. And then I started following, Catherine Zakina and Manifestation Babe, and love her messaging as well. And then I found Ashley Gordon, who's another coach, and I was like, okay, this is all fascinating stuff. And so I think it was 2019. I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to do with this whole concept, but it sounds fun. And then 2020 hit, and everybody's world was rocked a little bit in some way. And so I thought to myself, what's next? Like, what do I really want in life? And what really kicked that off is I had a job where I had been working in mental health, loved my job, but then I moved and it was just, it was a 90-mile commute every day. Couldn't do it anymore. So, and I also was really fixated, and I think a lot of us can relate to this. I was fixated on the title. My current employer would not give me this title that I desired. And everybody
Mhm.
called me the title. They're like, oh, you really need to be called this. And so I quit and I went to another company that gave me the title I wanted. I was like, all right, cool, check the box. I did it. Like, we're here. I've got this fancy new title, director, and I've got great pay. And I didn't really know anything about the company. It was a new setting. I work in healthcare. So I was like, okay, let's just do it. Within, no joke, 90 days of being hired onto this company, I was like, oh my God, I can't be here. This is a horrific company. They don't give a shit about their employers. I worked 21 days in a row without a day off. Finally had to say
Wow.
something. And my boss is like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, you're my
Especially if
boss.
you work in mental health.
Well, at that point, I was working at a skilled nursing facility,
Okay.
which is a little different, but we were talking about this earlier, it's just like you think, skilled nursing or like retirement homes are bad for the patients.
Mm,
This
I
is
can't
bad for
no,
the
the care workers for sure. The
yeah.
clinicians, no, we were talking about this before the phone before we turned on the cameras. I'm going through that right now with my in-laws who are from the boomer generation, which is happening right now in our society. The boomers are aging into the nursing home
Hmm.
and skilled nursing and the nursing home and the assisted living and all, memory care centers, all of that stuff. The clinicians and the care workers are really God sent angels from above because it's like having a toddler that doesn't listen.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? That doesn't listen and they think they know it all and they just will not follow directions at all
Yes. And
whatsoever.
little sidebar, geriatric males are really bad. It's a
Oh,
known fact. Like it just has to do with their brain and what happens. It's really bad. Like it's really challenging to work with them because they're either very nice or they're just like very stuck in their ways, as you said. They refuse to change. And anyways, so
yes.
I'm working in this space. I'm overworked. I'm working 7 days a week. And I'm like, this is bullshit. Like I didn't sign up for this. Like I
Yeah.
don't work like to work. I work because I need money. I want to enjoy my life.
Yes.
Um,
We all do work to because we need money.
right. So at that point it was really pivotal because I'm like, I will never ever do this again. I will never come into a space where I don't align with the values of the company or the mission or put up with the kind of treatment of this company. And so I made a decision then that I was like, what can I do with my life that gives me power back? And so I decided, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a coach. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how I was gonna do it. But I was like, I am gonna do this thing. And so I really hadn't even started my coaching practice or business. And I had an old peer reach out to me. We used to work together. And she's like, hey, are you taking clients? And I was like, sure am. And so we worked together. She was my first client. It was so perfect because she had worked in retail, wanted to get a retail very similar to my situation in a different setting. And I was like, sorry, my dog is like, oh, you have a friend coming up the driveway. Let me yell at you.
I was wondering what that
um,
sound was.
and so yeah, we worked together. It was amazing. And it really sparked like this whole new avenue for me. Because what I realized is not only was I working in an environment I didn't love, she wasn't either. I'm like, and I've heard so many women who have checked the boxes, gotten the degree, gotten into the field that they told they were supposed to get into, and they freaking hate their lives. And they
Yeah.
hate Mondays. They hate the 9 to 5 grind. They just go through life literally running in a hamster wheel and despise everything they're doing, which is so sad. And
Yeah.
so then and there, I was like, this cannot be the reality for women. We cannot go through life working 1,900 hours a year and think that this is okay to hate what we're doing. And so that's kind of sparked where I am now and kind of what I teach and preach because we were not designed to wake up, go to work, hate our lives, and do it every single day. Like, absolutely not. There's no freaking way we were created to like be acceptable with this type of outcome. And it like makes
Yeah.
me so frustrated because we accept that reality and think that we're stuck, and it's so not true. We have
Yeah.
the capacity to change our environment, we can change our energy, we can change our career, we can change our job, and we don't need to coincide with what we think society expects of us and what we think we should be doing. And so I can go on and on, but that is like just
No, let's break it all down. First of all, I totally and completely agree with you. I've had so many women on this podcast tell the tale as old as time. It's a tale as old as time. Basically, of like being sold the ideology that we go from, elementary school to high school to college, get the degree, get the husband, get the job, have the children, live your happily little life, stay there till retirement, and then move to Florida. Like we've all been taught that that is the career path, that is the life path of every human being. But that was something that the boomer generation wanted. That was something that right after war, like the Vietnam War, that they needed normalcy. They needed procedures they needed, and especially a lot of them were coming back from being part of the military, and the military is very procedural, like you do A, B, C, and you get D. And so they created that lifestyle here. They created the suburbs, they created the jobs, the education, the even the spending habits. Like all of a sudden that generation had all these new like gadgets and things to buy because they had the like excess income. But we don't have that now. We don't have the excess income, and we don't have the luxury of staying with a company for 50 years and retiring and getting a pension plan and all of these things.
Mhm,
And the companies, corporations are starting to treat us more and more like you're replaceable. Like, I don't
mhm.
give a shit if you work 21 hours straight. I don't give a shit if you didn't get, 8 or 10 hours of sleep. I don't give a shit if you even took a lunch break. Get
Or if
to
you've been with the
work.
company, they don't give a
Right.
shit if you've been with the company for 20 years.
They don't. And that was one of the things, my first realization of that was when I got fired from one of my corporate jobs, and like I thought these people were my friends and I thought they cared about me, and they just went about like as if you were nothing, like you were
Mhm.
just a cog in the wheel. And it does make you wake up and think there's got to be more to life.
Yes,
There
agree
has to be
100%.
more than this feeling of like, I'm just a hamster in a wheel and I have to go, go, go and do in order to have. And we've been taught it all wrong.
Well, and I think too, so yes, 100% great with everything you said. But I also think not everybody is meant to start their own business, and that's okay. Like that is
Yes.
perfectly okay. It's okay to have a 9 to 5. It's okay to have whatever, overnight shift, whatever. We need people to have these jobs, but what I really want to stress here is you have to do what you love. I don't care what you're
Hmm.
doing, but you got to love what you're doing. And often people don't believe they can. They're like, "Oh no, like there's no such thing. Like I'll never find a job I love." And I'm like, wrong. You were wrong.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
because a lot of people come with a mentality of like, well, and especially for me, like I came from, my parents are Mexican. I'm first generation Mexican here. And like, we came from the mentality of like, you work hard, you don't question the boss, and you just accept your paycheck and whatever they're willing to give you, and you just stay tight-lipped. And so that whole ideology was imprinted in my own subconscious mind. And that's every single job I had, I allowed my bosses to treat me like I was nothing. I
mhm,
allowed my bosses to make me work 10, 11 hours and like lose sleep and have anxiety and have panic attacks. I had all kinds, and it was a toxic environment because they
mhm,
saw me as a target. And so, but there really are good companies out there, and there really are good bosses that treat their employees well. I mean, I was
yes,
just at the Montage, and this whole entire company was having a day at the beach, and I'm like, "What company do you work for?" Like, I want a day at the beach at the Montage. You know what I mean? And it's like there are corporations and companies out there that do appreciate their employees, but there are many that do not. And if you're in that category, you're allowed to say, "Hey, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Let me
mhm.
find something that I do want to do." And I like that you were asking those questions when you came to that conclusion.
Well, and it starts with not only what do you want to do, but what do you believe in? What are your values? And that's a good starting point. And I think people get so stuck. Well, I went to school and I got the degree and I don't want to do it anymore. Okay, great. I'm glad you've made a choice. You don't want to do this anymore. What do you want to do?
Mhm.
What's important to you? What's important to you? What's meaningful to you in your life? And yes, you may need to start over. And that's okay. I've done that. I retired from retail in 2017. I worked in retail for like 12 years. That's all I knew was retail management. I knew I wanted to work in healthcare, and I was getting my master's in healthcare administration. I was like, I'm working healthcare. And I started over. I went from making, I don't know, like 65,000 a year to $15 an hour. Not
Mm,
ideal.
right?
And it sucked. And I, you can't change things that happen. Everything's meant for a reason, but I didn't have any savings. I didn't have a plan, and it really was rough. Let me be real. There was nothing pretty about that transition, but I'm
Yeah.
glad I did it. I did it. I got into the field I wanted. I got into the setting I wanted. And I've learned a ton. And it, like I said, it was not all rainbows and butterflies, but you can make it a little prettier if you plan appropriately
Right?
and really think out your steps. Um, but yeah, you can switch your careers, you can switch your job, like, you have that control, and to think otherwise, you're giving your power away, and you are
Mm,
letting everybody else make decisions for you and for your life, and that's the other thing is, what who are you deciding for? Are you deciding for your friend, your sister, your mom, your husband, your brother, or yourself? Because ultimately, it's your life and it's your soul that will be suffering if you choose the path that is actually not aligned for you. And it's going to result in so many negative impacts, from health to disease to pain to suffering. When if you just chose for you and only you, you could be in such a better, beautiful place in your life.
yeah. I love that you said that at any point and at any moment, you can change your life. And yes, you may have to start from the bottom. I've actually just watched a TikTok video of a guy who said, man, if I could go back in time, I would have learned a trade and been like a plumber or an electrician and ran my own company rather than being some 9 to 5 person at a corporate job. He's like, but now I can't go back. I can't stop because I have so many things that I have to worry about. But honestly, you can. If you think I
Hmm.
can't, then that's going to be your answer. But if
Yep.
you like create, for example, I was thinking about it because I always think when I watch people's videos, I'm like, you could do this and that. It's hard for me not to coach. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, for the next 3 months, he could save up enough money to go into the trade and like learn the courses, whatever the basics, save up enough, still do it on the side, like in the evenings or on the on the afternoons, on the weekends to learn the trade. And then slowly build your clientele, go part time on your regular job until you get to the point where this is replace the income of the 9 to 5 job.
Hmm.
Anything is possible. And the other thing is, I love that you said, who are you doing this for? Are you doing this for your family, your friends? And I hear that a lot where people are so afraid to change or transition out of something like a job or a toxic relationship or even move to a different place because what are people going to say? What are they going to think? Oh my God, everyone's going to think I failed. Well, failure is the only way you learn.
Hmm. And I agree with that piece of, you have to change something. So when let's see, I was at 2015, I moved to Colorado, and it was very abrupt. Everything happened very quickly. I had lived in California my entire life, and I was really in a bubble that I didn't know I was in. I hung out with the same friends, and don't get me wrong, they were great friends. I had a great running community. I loved my job, loved my peers, but wasn't progressing in the way that I knew I could. And I was in a relationship that was not really going anywhere. He ended up moving to Pennsylvania. I was like, okay, well, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my life? And so I was like, okay. And I don't even know how this came up. Clearly it was divine intervention, because I don't think I would have came up, like, if given a choice, I would have like, yeah, no way. I was like, I think I want to move to Colorado. My family's in Colorado. I haven't seen my nephews. My nephew just turned 1, and my sister kept bugging me, like, when are you moving to Colorado? And I'm like, when are you going to grow a beach? And so we had this conversation on and off for years. And so I think it was the relationship that really was kind of that triggering point where I was like, okay, I need to change something because this is just, I'm attracting in the wrong guys. Nothing is really great. It's okay. It's good, but nothing in my life is fantastic and amazing. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can transfer my job. I told my boss in November and it was scary. Don't get me wrong. This was a scary conversation for somebody. I was 29 at the time, never had lived out of California. Never had made a change like this ever in my entire life. I go to my boss and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking," I didn't say I was going to. I said, "I'm thinking about moving to Colorado. What do you think my options are?" She's like, "Oh, I know the district manager." At the time I worked for Athleta, I was an assistant manager. She goes, "I know the district manager. She's actually a really good friend. Let me make a call." And I'm not exaggerating. Less than 24 hours later, she calls me back. My boss goes, "Hey, they actually have an opening, but you have to start in March." Keep
Oh,
in mind, it's November, end of November. And I'm like, holy shit. Am I
like,
going to do this?
this is happening.
Yeah. And I didn't even really think about it. I was like, all right, I guess I'm going. And so, I ended up, my mom was living with me at the time. That's a whole nother conversation. We're going to save that for another podcast. And so I went to her. That was also a really tough conversation. And I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. And this is when I'm leaving, mid February. And so I started just packing all my shit up. I got rid of a lot of things and I just left. I just went, I had my friends help me. I left with, no joke, one of those little pods. They're really small, a small
Mhm.
pod, like the closet pod,
Uh-huh.
my car, and that was it.
Wow.
So I go to Colorado and I'm like, all right, I'm here. I'm in this new space. There's snow. I freaking hate snow. Like, what am I doing? I'm kind of with this guy, but I'm not. And it was really scary. Don't like I so this is what I went through and I don't actually recommend this. So I moved, which is, a top 10 stressor. I started, I guess I was with the same company, but it was a new job. It was a new team, new environment. I was commuting 90 miles a day. I started my master's program, a double master's program, and I
Wow.
was training for my first marathon. Don't do that. Oh, and I was trying to date again. So it was like the craziest time frame. But again, no regrets. Everything has happened for a reason because I ended up meeting
Yeah.
my now, partner and we're having a baby and everything's great. And I finished school and, it all worked out. But it was insane. And the good thing I didn't put too much thought into it because I think if I would have overanalyzed any of this, I would have froze
Yeah.
and be like, I can't do any of it because it's a lot. Like it was a
Yeah.
lot. And I actually don't even know how I did it at the time, but
Well, I know how you did it. It's like, here's what I tell people. The moment you start to say things out loud and you question the universe and you're like, what am I doing with my life? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? Like, help me out here. I can't figure this out. And so you put that question out there and the universe responded with the opening of the job and your, conversation with your mom and getting rid of, like, everything will start to happen. The moment you start asking those existential questions of what is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Like the doors will start to open. And sometimes you have to have like one of those existential crises so that you could make a change in your life.
well, and it was my Saturn's return, if you're not familiar with that, if you're listening. So it's like 29-ish years, your Saturn comes back, like based on your birth year, comes back around as its rotation. And it's every 29 years. So you're gonna have multiple Saturn returns, but it's when you go through, you could say a midlife crisis, you could say
Yeah.
massive change. And I didn't know that at the time. I had no clue what that meant at the time. I just knew I was like, okay, this is a lot, but we're doing it and we're going with it. And
Right. Didn't
so
drown and you
yep.
didn't die. I like that. But did you die? No.
But did you die? Nope.
No, you made it through. I love that. I love the ability to be able to change your life. I know this is off topic, but I just recently watched the O.J. Simpson documentary.
Ooh, interesting.
And as I was watching it, it's like this man has lived many lives. Just
Mm-hmm.
watching his life and like who he was, like the all-star, the USC player, the football player, and then like this charismatic movie star, and then all of a sudden, the killer, and then the person that's on trial, and now he's in jail, and he spent his times in jail, and then he died of cancer. It's just like we all get to live multiple versions of ourselves in this lifetime. But like you said earlier, are you the creator of that lifestyle? Are you the person that's like creating the life that you want, or are you allowing other people to dictate how you should live?
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. And, one thing that I want to weave into this conversation, and I think it's amazing and I love it, I want everybody to know about it, is, in the spiritual realm, and I said this earlier, is that term manifesting, and often we get a little, we're just like, what does that mean? Like, what's the tangible results? Like, what? I don't understand. And really, it's just to create. What are you creating in your life, whether you're subconsciously or consciously thinking about it? And, it all ties back to, what does your life look like? What are you accepting and not willing to accept? And one of the tools that I think everybody should practice and implement and use, and I know, again, it sounds very woo-woo and like, what is this witchcraft? Is this ancient art of Feng Shui. And I've been using it for over a year now. And I've known about it for a very long time, but I started practicing it last year. And it's so freaking cool. I'm like manifesting like just money out of the blue. And just like weird thing, like it's so to me, this modality is an extension of manifesting. So if you've ever read The
Mm.
Secret, or if you're familiar with the term, or you're like, oh yeah, I manifest all the time. It's just an addition. It's an additional tool in your toolbox, but it actually helps you, I think, get way more intentional and attracting things faster and in a way that makes it literal. So I'll give you an example.
Oh, I
We
want
all have,
more than just an example.
I'll give you all the things.
I want all the nuggets, because this is when you were like, this is a thing for manifestation. I was like, okay, she's going to say something I already know, but I've never heard anyone say Feng Shui.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to know how that came onto your lap. Like,
Mm,
did you discover? And then tell me everything you know.
yes. Oh gosh, I love the universe because, you just get presented things that you need. And
Yes.
so,
And maybe I need this.
I was, I was introduced to it many years ago from, what is her name? Ashlina. She has a podcast called Blissfully Ambitious. Love her podcast. And she talks about how she was an interior decorator and she used Feng Shui. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But I wasn't like bought in. And then last year, I know what it was. I stumbled upon, God, I love podcasts so much. I stumbled upon a podcast, and it was about Feng Shui. They teach Feng Shui and they certify individuals to become consultants. I was like, oh, okay, this is really fascinating. Let me learn more. And the more I listened and learned, and I was like, okay, let me like put this to use. And so I started implementing some of the principles and the practices. And lo and behold, I had a situation where I was like, okay, I need some cash flow right now. Like, I'm not in a good space. I'm like literally going to go negative in my account. Never the business, not the vibe. That's a different conversation. And I had done my taxes. I mean, when you do your taxes, it takes, weeks, usually weeks and weeks and weeks to get your return. And so I was like, okay, this is unfortunate, but whatever, it'll all work out. I always believe, things will come to me as they're designed to. So I do my taxes. And then that was like a Monday or Tuesday. Friday rolls around. I'm like, all right, universe, like, need these funds. Let's do the thing. And so I received my refund that day, which is
Wow.
bananas. I've never received a refund in 4 days. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. The next day, I received $1,000 check out of the blue.
Wow.
Not expecting it. Had new clothes coming. I'm like it was the person that gave it to me. I was like, oh my God, like, this is so kind of you. Like, and so that to me was like the pivotal moment. I'm like, oh, this stuff works. Like, everybody needs to know about this. So to give you kind of the full description, if you were like Googling what is Feng Shui, it's very simple. So Feng Shui is wind and water. That's the
Mm.
literal term. And it has been around. It's been an ancient Eastern practice for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You will see it very common in Eastern cultures. It is only recently kind of becoming more popular in Western culture. And I can tell you why, because it's super cool. And, there's so many, it can be very complex. I like to make it simple, simple, simple. So when you think of Feng Shui, all you need to think about is your literal environment. So everybody's familiar with Marie Kondo.
Yes.
Clear your clutter, right? Like, do you love
Yes.
it? Is it bring you joy or does it not? So you're going to take that same concept and then you're going to kind of break it down. So I always like to start with very simple things that, we all have in our spaces. So in our homes, we all have a front door.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you use it or not, that's not the question. But everybody has a front door. It doesn't matter, apartment, house, trailer, doesn't matter, even door to get into your space.
Trailer.
So it could be a trailer. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a camper, which,
Yes,
there's
it
doors in
could be a
camper.
trailer for sure.
So the door in your home represents the portal of energy into your home. So
Okay.
your home holds energy. We all know this, right? I often will go into spaces and like stage away the energy because we know energy gets stuck and
Mhm.
stagnant. Same thing with the front door. So if your front door, I'm gonna give you some like things that you want to look out for and then things you can implement. So if you are the type of person where you use your front door all the time, that's great. That means that every time you open that front door, you're opening up that portal. You're opening up that energy to allow in fresh chi. So chi is life force energy. So you're literally opening opportunities for yourself every time you open a
Mm.
door. Now, one thing that you want to be cautious of is you want to make sure that front door is clear and both ways. So when you're exiting, when you're coming in. So we often, put our shoes by our doors, we drop our coats, we have a coat rack, we might have some furniture. Well, if you think in the literal sense, what are you doing? You're blocking the energy from coming in. You are literally
Mm.
blocking new, fresh energy from entering into your space in your home. So you want to make sure your front door is not only clear, so there's no blocks in how you're coming in and out of the home, but it's clean. So think of Marie Kondo. You want to make sure it's clean, it's clear. And then the other aspect of that is, we clean our front doors, which I hope you do. I hope people clean their doors.
The cleaning lady does.
Uh, that's fine too. But you probably want to do it yourself just because
Okay.
I'll tell you in a second. So
Okay.
when you're cleaning your front door, you want to be very intentional. This is the other thing I love about Feng Shui is it's all about your intention behind the action. So if you've ever read the book by Dr. Dwayne Dyer called The Power of Intention, that's all he preaches
Mm.
about is our thoughts, our beliefs equal our reality, equal our all equate to our attention and how we're intentionally acting and feeling. So when you're cleaning your front door, you want to get intentional. So let's just say you're doing just a wipe down, right? You're dusting, you're like, okay, I'm intentionally clearing out this stagnant energy so I can welcome in new, fresh energy. That's it.
Mm.
Super easy, super simple. Now, let's just say you don't use your front door. You're the type of person like, no, I go into the garage or I've got a side door. You still want to do what I just said at least once a week because I want you to think. So let's just say you never clean your front door. It's just not a thing you worry about. You don't think about it. What happens? Cobwebs gather, dust
Yes.
starts to settle, maybe there's like bugs and spiders will start to gather, maybe your mail starts piling up. And what is all this? It's gross, it's dirt, it's literal clutter in your energy. So you want to go in, you want to clean and clear it out. And these are things we do, or at least we should be doing already in our life.
We should be.
I say should because not everybody's on the same field when it comes to cleaning.
Yeah.
So that's one example, and you can apply the same thing to your windows. So you always want to open your windows. I would say like once a day is great, but if it's in the middle of dead winter and it's -2 degrees, just maybe like once a week for like 30 seconds. Just again to get that fresh energy, that fresh chi, because it's all about like the literal aspect of your environment. How are you treating your space?
Mm.
So another aspect which I love. So in your home, there is a principle of feng shui called the Bangwa map, and it's a 9-tile map. You kind of lay it on your home, and it just breaks down health, relationships, communication, abundance, prosperity, family. There's all these different tiles, and you can use this map to really create anything you desire. So if you're looking for love, relationships, abundance, recognition, fame, possibilities are endless. I really hone in on the prosperity and abundance, which is going to be
Me too. Let's do this. That's what I want.
Who doesn't want this?
Who doesn't want more prosperity and
Right.
abundance?
So if you walk into your home, and again, you want to be walking into your main entrance. So if you walk into your home, in the farthest left corner of your home, that is your
Okay.
wealth corner.
So so if I walk into my home, furthest left would be, so does that include like the total house, not the room itself?
The
So like if
total
you're,
house.
so if you're walking in through the dining room or to the, the first thing as you see is the dining room, but then you have the kitchen and the living room. So you'd go all the way to the left of the living room.
Correct.
corner of the house. Okay.
Now, the exception to that rule, so for me, I have the main floor and then I have a basement that was an addition. So it used to, I
Okay.
think the basement always existed, but it never was a livable space until we bought the house. You actually don't count additions because they're not the original structure of the home. And so
Oh.
kind of want to think if you've added on an
Yeah,
addition.
it was extended. That living room
Okay,
was extended. So go to
so
the corner where it originally was.
yep,
Okay.
yes. So that is your wealth and abundance corner. And so
Mm,
you really want to, if you can, now my wealth and abundance corner is weird, but you want to try to activate it. And there's multiple ways you can activate it. So again, we're going to go back to basics, clear the clutter. Like, what does that corner look like? And then what are the things you can put there to activate your wealth? Easiest thing I always say, put a plant. Put a plant. Could be, there are certain plants in Feng Shui that help. So easiest one is a lucky bamboo. We all know what that is, what it looks like. I love them. I think they're like the best gift ever when somebody's starting a new job or getting into a new home or space. The other plant you can use is called a money tree or a money plant. They're actually two different things. One's just
okay.
a Chinese money plant or just a money tree. And the reason why you want those is because the name money.
Yes.
um, or you can get a plant or a flower that is purple. So if you think about purple, what does purple represent? Royalty. And it's been
Mm,
for, thousands of years, back in, I don't even know, 1800s, you only had purple if you were wealthy. And so, this tradition has gone on through cultures across the world for generations. You can also use a purple crystal. So I love amethyst because when you think of amethyst, it's supposed to help relax and calm you. So you're relaxing and calming your space. You can put literal money. I've done that. I've put like coins or dollars. Or you can put other crystals such as I have one of mine here, pyrite, because again, this represents money, wealth, prosperity. So you almost want to put together a little money, I like to call it like a money corner or a money shrine.
oh, I
Um,
love that.
and it doesn't need to be complex. It doesn't need to be a lot. Again, we're breaking, I just want to make sure people understand like it's about your intention.
Hmm.
Make it simple. I just listed a ton of things. You don't need to do all those things. Put one thing if it makes your life simple. Like
What if you're trying to
that's
be a billionaire? Then you want to do all of them. Just kidding.
all of them. Yep. Like you have a small table, just stack it up with all the
I'm just
things.
gonna freaking go all the way up to the top.
So no, and I love that you asked that because people think more is more. And no,
Yeah.
more is less actually,
Okay.
especially with
Okay.
feng shui, because again, what's the intention? So let's just say you're like, oh, I'm gonna get all the plants because more is more. So what happens? You get all the plants, you stick them in your money corner. You're really motivated and excited. You're doing the thing, you're taking care of them, and they're growing. And then what happens? You get busy and you forget
Yeah.
about them. So now you've actually neglected all the things you said you were going to do. So not only did you not follow through with what you said you were going to do, your plants are dying, they're not doing well,
Uh-huh.
and you've got this like crusty old gross money corner. And then it's a reflection for what? The money and abundance that probably is happening in your current reality. So that's why I
Yeah.
said, make it simple, make it work for you. And again, are you doing it for you or are you doing it for somebody else? So
Mm.
making things intentional, making things simple, making them work for you. And that's what I love about feng shui is again, it's just you're taking your little environment, you're making a few changes, you're getting clear on the why behind what you're doing. So if you want to create more wealth, which again, who doesn't want more wealth? Who doesn't want more success and abundance? And if you want to be a billionaire, beautiful,
Mhm.
great. But you got to start small and you got to
Yeah.
make it simple. Nobody became a billionaire overnight. I promise you that. Nobody was like, okay, I'm going to do all the things at once. And in 30 days, I'm going to be a billionaire. I mean, I'd love to know if that happened to somebody. Please tell me, message us.
Yes.
You started out small and once you get one thing down, like so start with maybe one plant, really master taking care of that plant, especially if you're not a plant person and you typically tend to kill plants. Start with one. And I want you again literally think about, okay, I'm going to master this, I'm going to dedicate my time to this, I'm going to talk to the plant, I'm going to sing or like give this plant good vibrations. What happens? that is reflection for your own inner self-worth. You're not only taking care of the
Mm,
plant, but you're taking care of you. You're getting intentional, you're creating a new routine, you're thinking about it. It's just part, and then it becomes part of your life. Because
mhm.
after, and I'm not going to say 8 days because it's not true. It does not take 28 days to build a habit. It actually takes close to 60.
Okay.
After about 2 months, it's part of your life. It's part of your routine. You water the plant, you go talk to the plant, whatever you're doing with the plant. And then you're like, you know what? I want another plant because I've got this down. So you add another plant. And then again, you're just building upon these habits that you're slowly creating and slowly building. And then what's happening? You're raising your vibration, you're raising your intention, and you're becoming a match for what is that you're desiring? More
Mhm.
money, more wealth, more success. So it all kind of circles back to your energy and your frequency, but you're doing it through your actions, which is what I love and it's tangible. You're actually seeing things happen in real time. We're not talking about, don't get me wrong, I love the woo-woo, but we're talking about, real things that you can actually see and implement and speak upon versus, I think people get caught up in the manifestation world of like, well, I'm just going to wish for it and hope it comes. That's not how life works. You got to take aligned action.
Yeah.
So that is a few examples. There's so many more that I could, talk about for probably the next hour on how to implement various abundance tactics in your home, and not only in your home, in your workspace. And I talk about that all the time too. I have a whole course dedicated to what is your workspace? How can you make it work for you? Whether it's getting recognition at work, whether it's getting better communication, whether it's having better connections, or again, back to money, creating more wealth in your career. And
Yes.
Feng Shui allows you to do all those things. And just like I said, so much more. And again, it's just, to me, it's just a great extender. And it's just a super cool modality that you're already doing it, whether you realize it or not. And it's about, like I said, getting intention behind the action.
Oh, I love that. I'm definitely going to create my money corner. And that corner of the house is actually very cluttered. So I need to clean that up and
So
move the
start with
stuff out.
clearing it, just clear it out. And when you're clearing it out, get intentional. Like, all right, I'm clearing out this stagnant energy, and you can even just circle back. Okay, I'm clearing out this and like as you're doing it, like, speak out loud or speak to yourself, depending on, what you prefer. But like, say a little affirmation or a little mantra. As I clear this clutter, I'm allowing more space for money to flow to me with ease. So,
Mm,
just again, what's the intention behind the action? And so start there and then keep it clear. That's the other piece. It's like, so say you clear the clutter and you're like, okay, I'm gonna make my money corner. And then what happens? More clutter starts accumulating because you actually haven't made it a habit yet to keep it clean and clear. So start with keeping it clear. Say a little mantra each day or every other day of like, as I continue to keep this space clear, I'm clearing the energy, I'm clearing the portal for more money to circle its way into me. And I'd love to kind of see and hear what happens with
oh,
your little money corner.
I'm definitely going to send you pictures. I have a question because there's one thing that I've always thought about, like when I'm placing mirrors.
Mm.
Placing mirrors in your house has something to do with feng shui. So I have a mirror, if you can see it, like right here in the corner of it. I have a beautiful round mirror where I check my makeup right before I'm about to do videos or camera. It's facing the window. And was told, or I read, that as long as it's facing outwards and it's reflecting like a beautiful scene, then it's good.
Okay, so I love this question, and I can't see your full office, but this is a great, and I have another course about your office space. So let me like get this clear. So right now, I think there's a door behind you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's actually, you're not in what's called the command position. So
Mm,
the mirror is actually great. So really short description, the command position can be applied in your home and in your office. But when you are facing, I'm not in a command position either. My door is right behind me, just because of my office space. When you're not in a command position, you're blocked to the opportunities. So the door is behind you, right? So you don't see what's coming into you.
mm-hmm.
So when you have a mirror, and you might, again, I can't see your full space, but you want to have it so you can see the
What's
door.
coming in?
Yeah, what's
Okay.
coming in? What are the opportunities coming? And you don't want to be surprised or caught off guard. Again, what if somebody just busted into the door, and you're like, oh, like, it's startling. Like you're like, oh, I didn't know you were coming. You don't know what's coming. So you want to have it so you can see the door, but you're right. Like, it's reflection is mirrors are a great tool too. You want to have beautiful things in your office space. You want to have, especially on walls that are blank, because for me, I have a window and I have a wall. Now I've put things on this wall that I like and I admire and I enjoy looking at, because again, when we think about a wall, just a blank wall, what is it? It's a blockage. It is
Mm,
blocking creativity. It is blocking opportunity. It's just boring. Like, it's actually boring to stare at a white wall. So your mirror is, giving you opportunity to see other things. And then it's
okay.
reflecting back at you, hopefully a scenery that you enjoy, which it sounds like, you can kind of see what you like. So it's helpful. And then, what you want to do is maybe put a small mirror. That's what I have in my work office, is I have a really small mirror, because I'm also not in a command position there. That's allowing me to see my office door behind me. And that right there will allow you to see what's coming to you. So you're not
Mm,
caught off guard by anything walking into your space.
yes. Okay. So to recap, for those of you who are listening on Spotify or Apple, and if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. Number one, clean out your front door, even if you don't use it because you're going through the garage, which is what we do. We normally go through the garage. I will, because normally my cleaning lady does it, I will intentionally clean my door for me and allow good energy to come on in and clear the chi. Another thing that I don't do, which I'm going to start doing because of you, is opening up my windows and allowing, good energy to come in. I literally only open my windows when it smells from like food, like I'm cooking like salmon or like, you know what I mean? And it smells. That's the only time I ever open my windows. But like I really love to have my windows open so that when I lived by the beach, I used to love to smell the sea breeze, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't live by the beach anymore. So, but I'm going to start doing that, is opening up the windows. So that's number 2. Number 3, make sure to remove any clutter from your living space, right?
Well, yes,
Especially through
and
the doors, like
through
in
the
the
door. Yep.
doorways.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 4, make your money corner. The left side, when you're coming in through your front door, the very left side of your house, and make sure it's not the additional room or the extension of your house. It's the original left corner, far side left corner of your house. In
Yes.
that left money corner, add a money tree, something purple, like a purple amethyst. What was the
Mhm.
other one? The gold one that you raised?
Oh, I had a pyrite
A
crystal.
pyrite. Yeah. So I'm gonna do those things.
Ooh,
I'm
I
so
love it.
excited. I'm so
So
excited.
we may have to have a follow up. We can either podcast it or a conversation, but yes, definitely tell me all the things that are starting to roll in. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what you create.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so as we wrap up this episode, what would be your nugget of wisdom for anyone who is listening or watching now?
If you think you can't, you can't. If you think you can, you can. And then one more thing, just to tag onto this, it's my favorite quote. In order to change, you have to change.
Yes. Oh, and I love that Shauna gave a lot of like, she's like, I learned from this person. I listened to this podcast. I read this book. So if you are interested in any of the things that she was talking about, make sure you reach out to her on Instagram, so she can give you those recommendations, because those were some good. I'm going to actually ask her, who was that podcast again? And then make sure you listen to her podcast. How can my audience find you?
So I try to make things simple and fun to find. So my podcast is the Align Your Glow and Soul. I'm on Apple and YouTube and Spotify. And then you can find me on Instagram, sparkle_vibrations. And I'm there all the time, every day. So come say hi. I have a ton of free stuff. So if you're listening, you're like, ooh, this feng shui stuff sounds super cool. I want to learn more. I have multiple free introduction courses on feng shui, where if
Oh,
you have 12 minutes to spare, let's change your life. Go ahead. Like, I've got the links on my Instagram, click it and just listen to it. And I talk about the wealth corner in more depth. I talk about some aspects of your workspace and your office. And I promise you, if you dedicate 12 minutes to your life by learning some of these skills and start implementing these modalities, you're going to change your life in some way or shape or form. Promise you. Like, seriously.
well, I love it. And I'm so glad we had this conversation. And thank you again for listening and watching on YouTube. Goodbye. Thank you again for listening to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser. If you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual mentor, you can book a free discovery call with me at www.fearlessfemale.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at fearlessfemale_coach, subscribe to my YouTube channel at fearlessfemale, or find me on TikTok. I'm under at paola.rosser. And if you love this episode, make sure you hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review. I read every single review, and I truly appreciate the time you spend writing it.